back to Deep Dive Discussion, where we explore the ideas, strategies, and stories that truly matter.
Thanks to Ysh Estayo, the producer and director of our program.
Today, our topic is the book Give and Take by Adam Grant. We're going to really dig into it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating book. The mission today is to understand these different styles of interacting, giving, taking, matching, and see how they affect, well, success.
And hopefully give you some insights you can actually use in your own life and work.
Exactly. So Grant's research, it kind of throws a curveball at some common ideas about who gets ahead. We've got the book right here full of studies and stories.
Okay, so let's dive in. Chapter 1 sets up these three main styles: givers, takers, and matchers. Can you break those down a bit? What do they look like?
Sure. So givers, they're basically focused on contributing. They want to help out, share information, add value, often without thinking about what they'll get back immediately.
Okay. And takers?
Takers are, well, the opposite in many ways. Their primary focus is on what they can get out of an interaction. They tend to prioritize their own advantage.
Makes sense. And the third type, matchers.
Matchers are probably the most common. They operate on a principle of fairness, quid pro quo. I'll help you if I think you'll help me back. It's about keeping things balanced.
Right. Now, here's the part I found really surprising. Grant talks about this giver paradox. Givers are apparently found disproportionately at the bottom, but also at the very top of success metrics.
Exactly. It's not what you'd initially expect. Takers and matchers, they tend to cluster more in the middle.
So why do some givers sink while others soar? What makes them struggle?
Well, the very act of giving can make them vulnerable. If you're always focused on others, you might neglect your own needs, making you easier to exploit by takers.
Ah, okay. So they get taken advantage of.
Sometimes, yes. And there's also the risk of burnout. Just constantly giving and giving without replenishing your own energy or resources, that's not sustainable.
So the lesson isn't stop giving. It's more like give smarter, give intelligently.
Precisely. The givers who reach the top aren't just doormats. They're strategic about their giving. They learn to recognize takers, they set boundaries, and they channel their generosity effectively.
They protect themselves while still contributing.
Yes. It's about finding ways to help that also align with their own goals and energy levels. And remember, most people are matchers. That feels like the default, maybe the safest bet.
Yeah, it seems intuitive, but Grant suggests these styles aren't totally fixed, right? You might act differently in different situations.
Absolutely. Context matters. You might be more of a giver with your family, but maybe more of a matcher at work or vice versa. It really prompts you to think, doesn't it?
It does. So for you listening, maybe take a second to reflect. In your recent interactions, what was your main mode? Offering help, looking for an angle, trying to keep things even.
Just observing yourself and others through this lens can be pretty eye-opening.
Okay, let's move on to Chapter 2. This looks at how these styles affect networking. How do takers, givers, and matchers approach building connections differently?
Well, takers often network very strategically. They target high-status people, those who they think can offer them the most direct benefit.
Makes sense from their perspective. And givers?
Givers tend to network more organically, maybe more broadly. They focus on being helpful to lots of different people, not just the perceived important ones. Their goal isn't necessarily immediate gain.
And matchers are probably looking for that reciprocal exchange again.
Exactly. They're looking for relationships where there's a clear potential for mutual benefit, tit for tat.
What's interesting is Grant suggests the giver's approach, while maybe less targeted, has a surprising advantage.
It does. Because they help more widely, givers often end up with much broader and more diverse networks. They build bridges between different groups.
And those connections might not seem immediately useful.
Right, not in a direct transactional way. But down the line, these diverse ties can lead to unexpected opportunities, access to different kinds of information, or novel solutions. You just never know.
That ties into another idea Grant mentions: dormant ties. Those old contacts we've kind of lost touch with.
Yes. Dormant ties are fascinating. Think about old colleagues, classmates you haven't spoken to in years. Because they're often in different circles now, reconnecting can bring fresh perspectives or information that your current, closer network doesn't have.
It's like tapping into a whole different pool of resources.
Precisely. They bridge structural holes in your network. Yeah? So maybe a practical thought for you is consider reaching out just to help someone in your network, no strings attached.
Or maybe ping that old colleague you haven't chatted with in a while, see what happens.
Couldn't hurt. Now, Chapter 3 takes us into the team environment.
Yeah.
How do these styles play out when people have to collaborate?
Yeah, this is crucial for anyone working in an organization. Grant says having even one giver can really lift a whole team. How does that work?
A big piece of it is psychological safety.
Hmm.
Givers, by being helpful, sharing credit, and supporting colleagues, tend to create an atmosphere where people feel safe.
Safe to do what?
Safe to speak up, to admit mistakes, to suggest maybe unconventional ideas without fear of being shut down or ridiculed. That kind of environment is huge for collaboration and innovation.
Okay, I can see that. Now, flip side. What happens when you have a taker on the team?
Yeah, okay. Takers can be quite destructive in a team setting. Their focus on personal gain over the group's goals can really poison the well.
How
It
so?
erodes trust pretty quickly. People become wary, less willing to share, more focused on protecting themselves. It can spark conflict and just generally drag down performance. Grant argues one taker can often undo the positive contributions of several givers.
Wow, that's a strong effect. But there's good news too, right? Giving can be contagious.
Yes, that's the hopeful part. When people see giving behavior modeled and see it being valued, it often encourages them to act more generously themselves. It can create a positive upward spiral for the whole team culture.
So it's not just about individuals, it's about the team norms.
Exactly. Which leads to a question for anyone managing a team. How are you actively fostering a culture that encourages helpfulness, but also protects your givers from being exploited?
That's a key balancing act. Okay, chapter 4 gets into talent spotting and development. Givers seem to have a special ability here.
Yeah, it seems they often look beyond just, current performance metrics. They try to see the underlying potential in people.
So they're not just looking at the resume, but at the person's drive or aptitude?
Right. They're more willing to invest time and energy in mentoring someone or giving them a chance, even if they don't have the perfect track record yet. They believe people can grow.
It sounds like they create self-fulfilling prophecies almost by believing in someone.
They help that person believe in themselves and step up.
Exactly. They provide support, encouragement, maybe advocate for them. They might take a chance on an unconventional candidate that a matcher or taker might overlook.
And the long-term benefit of that? Huge potential for loyalty, for one. Plus, you unlock talent that might otherwise have stayed hidden. It's a longer game, but the payoffs can be substantial.
So a takeaway for you might be, look beyond the surface performance. Is there someone you could invest in, mentor, or just give a bit more belief to?
It's a powerful thought. Now, chapter 5, this one's interesting. It's about communication style. Grant talks about powerless communication. Sounds weak, but apparently it's effective.
Yeah, that phrase definitely catches your attention. What does powerless communication actually involve?
It involves things that might seem less dominant,
Mhm.
like asking more questions instead of just stating opinions, admitting when you don't know something, showing a bit of vulnerability, even using tentative language sometimes.
Mm. How can appearing less powerful actually make you more influential? Seems backward.
Well, think about it. Asking genuine questions shows you're interested in the other person's view, makes them feel heard and valued. Admitting uncertainty can make you seem more relatable, more trustworthy, less like you have an agenda.
Okay, I see. It builds connection rather than just asserting dominance.
Precisely. It's not about always being powerless, of course. Grant stresses that the best communicators are adaptable. They know when to be assertive and when this more questioning open style is better. But often, genuine interest and authenticity are more persuasive than a super polished, commanding pitch.
So maybe try asking a few more questions in your next meeting, or admitting you're not sure about something instead of bluffing.
It could actually strengthen your position. Moving to chapter 6, this explores motivation. How do givers inspire action in others?
Right. It seems they tap into something deeper than just, say, bonuses or promotions.
Exactly. Givers often motivate by connecting people's work to a larger purpose or meaning. They highlight how the work impacts others, who benefits from it. They focus on the why.
So appealing to intrinsic motivation, things like autonomy, mastery, purpose.
Yes, that kind of motivation tends to be much more powerful and sustainable in the long run compared to just relying on external rewards and punishments.
Hmm.
People feel more engaged when they believe their work matters.
So for you listening, think about your own work or your team's work. Can you articulate the bigger purpose? Who are you helping? Why is it important?
Making that connection explicit can be a real motivator.
Okay, but we touched on this earlier, the dark side of giving. Chapter 7, Chump Change, tackles the risks head on. Burnout, exploitation. How do successful givers avoid becoming, well, chumps?
This is so crucial. Unsuccessful givers often give too much, too often, to the wrong people or in the wrong way. The key is strategic, sustainable giving.
Meaning,
Meaning, for one, learning to set boundaries. It's okay to say no to requests that drain you or feel exploitative. You have to protect your time and energy.
that can be hard for people wired to help.
It definitely can be. Another strategy is to focus your giving where it aligns with your skills and passions. Giving in areas you're genuinely interested in and good at feels less like a chore and more energizing.
So find your giving niche almost.
Sort of, yeah. And be mindful of who you're giving to. Recognize the takers and limit your exposure or adapt your strategy with them. It's not about being selfish. It's about self-preservation so you can continue to give effectively.
Practical advice then. Identify your strengths, focus your giving there, and practice saying no gracefully when needed.
Absolutely essential for long-term giving. Finally, Chapter 8 asks a big question. Can people change? Can a taker become more giving? Grant calls this the Scrooge shift.
Is it possible? Are these styles baked in, or can we shift them?
The encouraging answer from Grant's research is yes, change is possible. While personality plays a role, our reciprocity style isn't set in stone.
What influences it then?
Things like the context we're in, the culture of our workplace, the role models we see, and even our own conscious choices. Most people can become more giving if the conditions are right and they're motivated.
So organizations can play a big role by creating systems that reward collaboration and helping.
Definitely. Having visible role models of successful strategic givers also helps. And even small changes in behavior can create these positive feedback loops. You start giving a little more, see positive results, feel good about it, and it encourages more giving.
So it doesn't have to be a massive overnight change.
Not at all. Maybe just look for small, low-cost opportunities to help someone out this week. Find people who exemplify effective giving and see what you can learn from them.
Well, this has been a really thorough look into give and take. It feels like the main takeaway is that understanding these styles, giver, taker, matcher, and especially learning how to be a smart giver with boundaries and awareness, it's not just nice.
Right. It's actually a powerful strategy for achieving sustainable success and having a more positive impact.
Right.
These ideas give you a really useful lens for navigating relationships, both at work and everywhere else.
So we hope you'll reflect on your own style, maybe experiment with some of the ideas we discussed.
Definitely worth thinking about.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. What if embracing strategic giving, that balance of generosity and self-awareness, isn't just about being good, but is actually the smartest, most effective way to get ahead and build a fulfilling life?
Thanks for listening. Grab Ysh Estayo's latest book on Amazon. Need business consulting, AI, book writing, and publishing? Ysh has your back? Contact Ysh Estayo or leave a comment. Until next time, keep diving deep.